Okay, I have started our recording. Good morning, Lorinda. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
All right, excellent. We are at quorum, I believe, so we can go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Committee Member Anderson of the Public Health and Pharmacy Formulary Advisory Committee, and I now call this special meeting to order. Today is Friday, August 2nd, 2024, and it is 9:01 a.m. The Public Health and Pharmacy Formulary Advisory Committee meetings are conducted in accordance with the Oregon Public Meetings Law. And under the Public Meetings Law, governing body meetings are open to the public, except as otherwise provided by law. The presiding officer has the authority to keep order and to impose any reasonable restrictions necessary for the efficient and orderly conduct of a meeting. Governing bodies are authorized by ORS 192.660 to meet in closed or executive session in certain limited situations. All official actions by the committee must be taken by public vote, and the vote of each member must be recorded. I will now call roll call, and for the record, when I call your name, please verbally acknowledge here. Committee Member Anderson is here. Committee Member Andrew Gibler.
Here.
Committee Member Catherine Hammond.
Here.
Committee Member Mark Myers.
Here.
Committee Member Courtney Sellers.
Here.
Committee Member Robin Virgin.
Here.
And Committee Member Sarah Wickenhagen.
Here.
Staff Member Brianna Ephraimov.
Here.
Staff Member Rachel Melvin.
Here.
And Staff Member Gary Runyon.
Here.
And my apologies for the dogs in the background. All right, so I just need to review some housekeeping and meeting etiquette. Committee members and staff need to silence all devices. I will work on silencing my dogs. Identify yourself as committee member or staff member with your last name each time you speak. Please speak clearly and one at a time, as it is crucial for the public record. And please note that this meeting is being recorded and retained as a public record. We will now review the meeting agenda and ask each committee member to provide any proposed revisions to the meeting agenda. Is there any discussion about that?
See no hands.
All right, let's go ahead and approve the agenda. So when I call your name, please say yes or no. Committee Member Anderson, yes. Committee Member Gibler?
Oh, wait,
Yes.
I'm so sorry. This is Staff Member Melvin. Lorinda, I think you need to move down to the motion part. You need to ask for
Oh,
motion.
thank you.
That's okay.
I see
this
that
was
now.
just a
Sorry.
list to make sure you asked everyone if they wanted to address the agenda. Okay.
Oh,
you.
I get it. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the meeting agenda?
Committee Member Myers, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Committee Member Gibler, second.
All right. Committee Member Anderson, yes. Committee Member Gibler?
Yes.
Committee Member Hammond?
Yes.
Committee Member Myers?
Yes.
Committee Member Sellers?
Yes.
Committee Member Virgin?
Yes.
And Committee Member Wickenhagen?
Yes.
Great, this motion passes. All right, so the 5/8/2024 Pharmacy Public Health and Pharmacy Formulary Advisory Committee meeting summary has been approved. Oh, do we need to do the same thing for this meeting summary?
Yes, so you're approving
for
the prior meeting. Yes,
the prior meeting. I am sorry about that. So now we need to go over the prior meetings meeting summary and review that and approve it. Do I have a motion to approve the 5/8/2024 PHP FAC meeting summary?
Committee Member Myers, so moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Committee Member Gibler.
Oops.
Oh. Which one? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, Sarah, you can take it.
Oh, okay.
Committee Member Wickenhagen, second.
Great, thank you. Committee Member Anderson, yes. Committee Member Gibler,
Yes.
Committee Member Hammond,
Yes.
Committee Member Myers,
Yes.
Committee Member Sellers,
Yes.
Committee Member Virgin,
Abstain?
okay, and Committee Member Wickenhagen.
Yes.
All right, this motion passes as well. All right, we are now going to introduce our two newly appointed committee members. We have pharmacist Courtney Sellers, and she was appointed on 5/1 of 2024. And we also have Dr. Robin Virgin. So Courtney, would you be willing to give us a brief bio about yourself? And then we'll follow that up with Dr. Virgin.
Certainly. So my name is Courtney Sellers. I am the pharmacy manager at Providence in Milwaukee. I received my PharmD in 2009 and did a residency back east for a year, and then moved back to the West Coast and have been practicing clinical pharmacy since that time. And then recently, in the last few years, went in more of a leadership route. I'm totally thrilled to be here, and yeah, it's nice to see you all.
Fabulous, thank you. Dr. Virgin?
Good morning. Yes, I am Dr. Robin Virgin. I'm a family physician by training. I'm an Oregon native, trained at OHSU, and got my licensure in 1995. I've practiced full spectrum family medicine, including obstetrics and inpatient pediatrics for about 25 years. I still have a small clinical practice in Vancouver, Washington, and now I work primarily as the Chief Medical Officer for Peace Health Medical Group, Oregon, and I'm based out of Eugene.
Fabulous. Well, welcome both of you, and I want to congratulate you both on your appointments and welcome you to the Public Health and Pharmacy Formulary Advisory Committee. All right, thank you, everybody. I am going to now turn it over to staff member Efremov for a quick agenda update.
Yes, thank you so much. I first and foremost want to thank everyone for being here. I know this was an urgent meeting called for a very important purpose. So thank you for your time being able to make it on short notice. We also are super excited to have our new members of the committee. Thank you for your service. You might notice today that Jennifer is no longer here. I just wanted to inform the committee that Jennifer is no longer with the agency, and unfortunately, but fortunately, Gary has been willing to step up and share in the duties of PFAC. So he will be leading this meeting's discussions, facilitating and taking over those duties at this time. But with that, we have some staffing struggles in our agency and the ability to make sure we can maintain all of our operations. We're going to need to reassess our committee meetings for the next year. So currently, we are going to need to cancel the 8/21, I think it is 2024 meeting. We will keep the 11/20/24 meeting at which a new chair will need to be voted in and legal advice will be presented at that time. And then from there, we'll further speak on what we can as we know more, as we settle into some different roles and trying to cover some different things that we need to, and we'll report back when we know more and what we can do for 2025. Thank you. That's all I wanted to share.
And so this is staff member Melvin. So what will happen is by the end of the calendar year, probably after our November meeting, I will send out a Survey Monkey poll, and we will get everybody on the committee's feedback on dates that are going to work for 2025. So at this time, are there any questions from the committee members before we move on to committee business?
Yeah, Committee Member Myers, just to be clear, so the August 21st meeting
Yes,
is
we'll cancel it. Yes, we just, unfortunately, we have a board meeting next week. This meeting was necessary because we have to write a temporary rule to get these vaccines adopted and able to be used. And we believe there isn't anything critical that needs to happen in August with this committee. So no, we will look to November to pick up where we left off.
Okay, that's fine. I just need to know for my schedule so I can open it back up for patient care. Thank you.
Sounds good. And I'll send the meeting cancellation after we are adjourned from this meeting. Anyone else? All right, we'll turn it back to you, Chair Anderson. Oh, you're on mute, Lorinda.
Oh, yeah, I should take that off mute. Sorry. All right, so we will now review the mailing of proposed protocol amendments for coronavirus 2019, and we'll do that with subject matter expert Obaidi. And I hope that I said that right.
Give me
So
just a
we'll turn the
moment.
time over to.
Hi,
Give me just a moment and
Yes,
I'll.
thank you. This is.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
this
Give me
is
just
me,
a moment and
Obaidi.
I'll pull up the mailing. Okay,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
that you pronounced it right. The only thing I it's interesting. So because I know you said you're canceling your next August meeting, and so for COVID, it's not fully complete right now because we don't have. I'm on paternity leave, so I've been away from work. So I still want to join this meeting and help out as much as I can. But when we last looked, so the guidance came that we have this new, the updated 24-25 kind of booster, if you will, but we don't have really good guidance right now. So the protocol is not as complete as it could be once we know more details from CDC. And so I'm wondering if we could put a pin in COVID for a short time because there's not really much meat in the protocol outside of the fact that we have the new guidance for a fall COVID vaccine.
This is staff member Melvin. So currently, the board just put through the last version that we amended, that this group amended, just went through rulemaking, and the board next week will look to adopt that version that just went through. So are you saying we should continue the path with that version, or should we bring these proposed changes you have in this document? This is kind of what we were prepared to do. Is I was going to ask them not to adopt the one that they're currently in rulemaking. We were going to ask them to adopt this temporarily.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen that document. This was the one that this current group, we looked at back in the spring when there was that guidance for 65 and older to get that additional booster earlier in the year. And so that's what we were working off of. But I'm not sure which other version was approved or was going to be approved through the board. And I just looked this morning on CDC's website, it still is using language from the 23-24 guidance. So we don't have guidance from CDC as of right now that I know of. And I guess I do apologize because I've been on leave. I haven't been as active with it, but I did look again this morning and all I found was 23-24 language. So I don't know if you guys.
Yes, if you want, if you guys don't mind, let's pull up the one that is proposed right now, which I believe these changes that you were proposing. I think, though, this version that you worked on was from June. So just give me a moment and I will pull this up and we can look at it. I don't know if
make sure. Yep.
we have any other choice, but let's just do it this way.
Sure.
Just a
and
moment.
just from what I heard, like just in being involved in some of the coalition calls, I heard that it's not going to be like a major product change, but I think Pfizer may have gotten rid of like their frozen glass vials or something. And so there could be some minor changes that is just not, we just don't have a lot of good information on right now.
Okay. Give me just a moment. And so what I'm going to show the committee is the protocol that went through. This is what was being proposed right now and that the public saw and commented on. And then let me just make this a little bit larger so you guys can see it. So let me, now, not to confuse you, in board meeting versions are different than PFAC committee versions. So the committee, you guys met in May, I believe. The board reviewed this in June. We sent it to a July rulemaking hearing, and now the board will review this version and decide, or consider it for adoption.
Scroll slowly, we can just compare.
So yeah, if that sounds okay to the group, I'll just scroll through this, and then you guys can just stop us if you'd like to discuss anything.
Let's maybe first just compare to see if you did revision on. Sorry, this is Staff Member Efremoff. It would be helpful if we're just going to compare what is in rulemaking to make sure the revisions that were proposed are the ones that were from this last document, and then we could go back to that document and have discussions. Might be the best way to move forward. If you could just keep scrolling a little bit. So it looks to be the same, but I just want to make sure all of it is the same. Keep going.
And everything that's highlighted in yellow is what was being proposed to change.
Okay.
Okay, there's no yellow though. I'm just looking for the yellow right here. It's the next one right here. Okay. I think that's the end. Right here is just reference.
So apologize for this, Staff Member Efremoff. Before Jennifer left, she was the one helping organize to make sure that the right documents were sent, and we weren't all intimately involved. So it does appear that the document that was provided for edits to be made is the document that is currently under rules. So if you want to pull up the version that was edited, maybe we could just have the conversations of, is it appropriate to make those changes at this time?
Yes, with the lens that if the board continues and goes ahead and adopts the version that we sent through originally, if that will satisfy the need currently out in the pharmacies, right? Give me just a second and I'll pull that one back up. And then we'll turn it back to you. All right.
Staff Member Efremoff, maybe just to help us understand what was just shared, are you recommending not to make these changes at this time, or are you recommending that we would still make these changes, but we'll need to revisit this likely soon again at November or whatever different information comes forth? We'll have to keep an eye on what we need to do. Or are you recommending that we don't make changes at this time and wait for an update at a later time?
Asaf,
I'm sorry, was that a
yes,
question
it
for
was
me?
directed to you. Yes, sorry.
Oh, yeah. So I think, I mean, so right now I'm hoping the CDC releases their guidance soon. I mean, I think it's due hopefully within the next few weeks, if not any earlier. So this is the current protocol that folks are working under. And I don't have a pulse of what's being shipped to pharmacies right now, but this is the fall recommendation that is that I put on here. And once we have more guidance, because I just looked again, and a lot of this language is from the April, May on the CDC website. So I would recommend just putting a quick pause, but I know given the staffing constraints and a lot of other challenges, I feel like it may not be ideal, but if it's possible, I would recommend just putting a pause so we can have good information and guidance from the CDC. And once we have that, we can, move forward with the guidance for the pharmacists for the fall.
Follow-up question. Sorry, Steph, I'm sorry, so looking at this, just making sure that if we get the language in place that the board is going to adopt at this board meeting next week, would that satisfy what is needed in the community at this time to be able to give these vaccinations so that we're not being a barrier without these additional components within it, knowing that we will need to revise it. But again, with our staffing limitations, the earliest we might be able to do that is November.
Or sorry, Staff Member Melvin, if this committee could have another special meeting in September, if it arrived by September, the board meets again in October. They could also write a temp rule again and send it to November rulemaking. I know. I'm just
together though. Staffing wise, we don't have the staff to organize.
I know.
The only I think as far as like if we just made it really general and just said, hey, the ACIP recommends the updated 24-25 COVID vaccine, and the reason why they did that, right? They didn't change a lot because of the strains, because they wanted to include Novavax, right? So they wanted a non-mRNA option. So they wanted Pfizer, they wanted Moderna, and they wanted Novavax. So that's what we're working with, and that's really what a lot of folks they're going to receive all three of those vaccines. If we kept it general, we could. The only thing is that because the color caps and some of the formulations are going to change of what's going to be available. If you get, like at the very bottom of this protocol, because it's so detailed, that may not reflect what's out there. But we and we could do this in two phases too. If you guys want, we could make a general update. But if they remove that frozen glass that I've been hearing about, or if they remove some of the other formulations, we'll just have to update it as we go.
This is Committee Member Anderson. I am also, I think, of the opinion that if we don't even have the formulations out yet or available, that maybe we should try and wait. I get that if staff don't feel like they could do a special meeting in September, then maybe we should go ahead and try to approve this today. But I guess I'm not sure what to do about the fact that it's not going to be completely up to date throughout the major flu season when a lot of people will be getting these.
So, Staff Member Efremov, I know it seems like we're in a situation where we're going to make hopefully the least of the worst decisions here. Our options aren't really stellar at this time. Yeah, no, I know. So I think, it's up to the committee and how you would like to review this at this time, knowing that the language that is not struck through or highlighted is the language that is already going through to the board for the board to be adopted this month. So there will be the access of something that is available during the time that most stores will be getting product shipped in, and that individuals will start going to their pharmacies to get these vaccinations. So there is something that will be on the books related to hopefully accurate as possible. I think the question at this time is, should the additional updates be made, knowing that we're going to, obviously, as with everything, keep monitoring it and determining what next steps we might need to update it in the future. I think the other situation that we should probably report to the committee at this time is that our subject matter experts, right now, we did how many people did we send communications out to, Rachel?
18,000 people. We did a SME recruitment back in June. You may have seen that email, and we had 10 people respond, but not all were qualified. Well, I need to look at the list because the current SMEs that are working have been working on these protocols, gave their notice, and they will no longer be able to assist the agency or the committee effective 8/31. So Crystal, Assad, and Nancy, they will not be with us. So this again is adding to the critical staffing issue at the agency. So we're in a storm right now.
And we thank them greatly for all of their hard work and efforts and appreciate how much you have done. We are so thankful, but we're also in a little bit of a situation that we're trying to onboard and determine if there's other SMEs that can help assist in this time. If not, agency staff will be doing that, which will cause additional bottleneck syndrome potentially in how we get these forth. So with all of those in consideration, maybe it's worth the committee reviewing these amendments at this time, since I would assume the subject matter experts are providing information that will help us have a little more longevity in these.
And then the board can decide. They can have 2 versions to look at, and they can make the final decision, which they would do anyway. So we'll turn it back to the committee and let you guys deliberate what makes sense here.
I'm happy to continue keeping an eye on the seat. I mean, I do feel bad. It's just with the timing of like having a newborn and in work and just the extent of like time that some of this takes in getting prepared. It just was a little bit challenging, but just with work and life and this as an additional project. But I'm happy to in the meantime continue helping until then. And if there is changes that is approved by the CDC that does come out, the language does change. I can work with Crystal over this month and help as much as possible.
Thank you. Chair Anderson, we'll turn it back to you.
Okay. This is Committee Member Anderson. So I guess given all that, it would be best to look over these changes and approve them. I do see that like here in the references that it's talking about that the package inserts haven't been updated yet. Is there a way to include another disclaimer up further that the pharmacist should always be checking for the most recent data just in case like this ends up being the only thing that gets posted for a while, so that if we do have updated products in particular, it sounds like that they're making sure that they're using whatever is in the package insert. What do we have up above?
Would it go on the top of this, or would it go on the main cover page for the beginning of vaccines? You know how we have an overarching.
I would put it here. But I like your idea of just being on the overarching one as well. But like I think that we need to have something here as well. I'm not sure it would go under what's new, but I do like it being at the very top to say, always make sure that.
I think just one thing, sorry, staff member Afmaf, when I haven't been as intimately involved in this process in the past year, but I know we need to be careful to relate it to a protocol and our statutory authority, making sure that things are specific in the way that they need to. And I apologize. I'm not as familiar with what we have flexibility to have to be descriptive or not related to this information. So I think we can definitely take that in, and then we can make sure that we're following what we need to legally and how we do that. And so we can take that recommendation and try to incorporate that, because I do know that we were struggling with the reference links and the other components that are maybe not required as part of the protocol, but are helpful tools if we have more flexibility. I believe I remember this committee having this conversation before. So I think I just want to make sure that we are doing that correctly, and we can take that back and update that in the however we are able to do so.
Yeah, so I just pulled up what is live today. So
Okay.
again, not knowing if it would go here or in the other version.
Okay. And the language, is there language suggestions?
Let's go back to this. Give me just a second.
Sure, too. Maybe
Well, she's talking about what's. Oh, yes, the committee member Anderson, would you have a suggested phrase that would make sense to add? Oh, and you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Yeah. Oh no, I committee member Anderson. I am trying to think of, just that pharmacists should make sure and check for updates that may not be reflected in this protocol. Based on like package insert. I don't know that I mean, Brianna brings up an interesting point about the protocols and the authority in general, like in terms of what pharmacists are able to do. I mean, do we know if everything has to be on these protocols and that pharmacists have to follow exactly what's on these and they're not allowed to kind of go to any other, like the CDC's website or use anything else beyond that? I guess I'm feeling like I'm kind of going back to like the protocol I know best, which is the contraception one. And there is a step in the contraception one that tells pharmacists to go to a document in the USMEC that tells them that, if you find a category 3 and 4 condition, that those are the ones that need to be referred. So, I mean, I guess I'm trying to figure out a way that, like, could we include language that says, if pharmacists go to these resources, we know these resources are considered standard or considered up to date, and you know what I mean?
Staff member Offenbach, I completely appreciate that thorough thought process. I think I understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to like how to further take that. I think we can definitely, I understand what you're getting at, take this back, and I'm hoping too that maybe we can pull together other questions that might be helpful when we have legal advice come next meeting too, to kind of touch on all these things, because I think that would be helpful too, and just the flow and clarity of kind of where those bumpers are. And I apologize, I don't know exactly either, especially depending on how the question's asked. I'm not an attorney. So I think that would be helpful to know. And I hear the intent, and I, as long as that's the will of the committee, would be happy to try to put that forth to be able to do that on these also.
This is Committee Member Gibler. I definitely agree with Committee Member Anderson or Chair Anderson about the if there's any way that we can just reference the most up-to-date prescribing information where we can eliminate details like the color of the cap, for example. I mean, every time the cap color changes from blue to orange, we have to update our protocol. And a lot of this is just in the package, in the prescribing information, and it's just duplicative. If there's any way to reference that legally, then that saves you a lot of time. It saves us time as well, and the SMEs. So, and it doesn't make any difference to the administrating pharmacists. They can easily review the prescribing information. It's available for free in the product or on the FDA website. So anyway, those are just my thoughts and concerns.
Vaccine SME Petrosky. Just bear in mind that the PI and the ACIP recommendations often aren't exactly the same. So I'm new to this. I've only been doing this for 6 months, but in the past, what were these protocols based on? I think it's probably a mix of the PI and the ACIP. There's always this issue with the 18, the PIs for the conjugate vaccines, the pneumococcal conjugate vaccines. The PI says 18 because they want to get that extra year, and ACIP consistently has 19. And so do the pharmacists start vaccinating at 18 or 19? So I guess that I don't know anything about the legal aspects, but I guess the lawyers can comment on whether it what is the overarching source of information that they should be using.
Staff Member Efimoff, Nancy, I think you said that beautifully, and I think that's part of this committee's role too, is to take that clinical data and provide those recommendations from your clinical expertise to the board and what would be an appropriate protocol.
Okay.
This is Committee Member Wickenhagen. I mean, obviously we want to always err on the side of safety. So I think that should be what drives us. And if there's a controversy between 18 and 19, we would pick 19.
Yeah.
But
and,
that's my humble opinion.
Vaccines, me, Petrosky again. I did make a suggestion, probably through emails earlier on in this process. Immunize.org is a terrific resource for vaccine information, and they've fairly recently updated their website to include, they have a tab on official guidance, which I think is great. And they've broken it up into ACIP, CDC, FDA. So that's something that the pharmacists, we could maybe add that as a link on these protocols to say for the most updated guidance. And one more thing I'll point out, and again, we can capture this in emails so everybody is remembers all of this. A lot of the references on these protocols use the FDA site for the prescribing information, and half the time those labels are outdated on the FDA site, which isn't a big surprise. So I encourage everybody to go to the manufacturer's websites for the latest PIs.
This is Committee Member Anderson. I guess I'm not quite feeling that much better. I agree that we should go ahead and approve these changes to this protocol. I still really like the idea of trying to figure out how to add in some language that says that pharmacists should be aware of any, or should watch for any changes in products that may not be reflected in this protocol.
Well, so this is Smil Bailey. So the other thing, to Nancy's point, what the manufacturers are great resources for formulation, and ACIP guidance can be for recommendation, and we can have both. I mean, we don't have to pick one or the other. And so we can say, for example, if you want to have language that's a bit more like, what do physicians do? What do MAs do in clinics, or what do pharmacists do in other states? Like I know in Arizona, they just follow ACIP recommendation. And so they don't have to get through this kind of meetings all the time. And so, but I know that's not for this group at all. And that's more like what Oregon has done. But if we did have something saying follow ACIP recommendations for recommendations, and then manufacturers a package insert for formulation, that would cover it all.
So this is Staff Member Efimoff. I think there's a lot of good points that have been raised, and that I would maybe ask to put a pin on some of those major modifications that would require more review to ensure that we are following what is required in statute and how to create these protocols. I think we could definitely look into, as we mentioned, the resource issue and making sure that it's the most updated guidelines or information from the manufacturer that the pharmacists are utilizing. My understanding is we can't, if we're going to, we have to be product specific in how we are creating these protocols. So I don't think we can just refer to the ACIP and what is ever like added to that. So that's why we have this kind of structure that's been created by the group of SMEs to put it within this construct. You might remember too, it used to previously be housed by OHA, systematically being moved into this committee, and this is the first round. We just kind of got everything going. This is the first year, and these are the first updates that are starting to get through and go live. So I think there's a lot more conversation and kind of that check and adjust as we go through, and more information that can be hopefully helpful in making determinations moving forward. That happens at the November board meeting. I would maybe ask at this time if we only contemplate what is currently written here or additions that any of the committee members think should be on this document, and to go through to make sure that we have consensus on what that direction is to provide to the board at this time.
So Committee Chair Anderson, this is Staff Member Melvin. So we would ask that you would, I guess we should probably gather consensus that if we want to review this document or move forward with what's already been through rulemaking, and make sure we have a majority agreement on that. And then we can either go through this document or move to the next mailing.
Sure. This is Committee Member Anderson. I feel like I've been doing a lot of the talking. Are there other committee members that have any feelings about what to do with regard to this particular protocol today? Would we like to review it and approve these changes, or would we like to let the board continue on with the protocol that they have previously?
Committee member Sellers, if they continue with the protocol they have previously, what portions of the population are we going to be excluding? I mean, I don't know that there's really, are there people that we could be vaccinating and that we could be, providing these additional services? And, is there, I didn't, when I was reviewing it, I didn't see that there were incredibly large changes. And I agree that the overly detailed things such as cap color is something where we're going to have to be updating this every month for the foreseeable rest of our lives. So I think, there is an element of too much information could be working against us. But I guess that's my question. Is there something that if we just went with the original one, knowing that we have some limitations on when we can review this again, are there going to be people that can't get vaccinated that way?
I think that's a good question for our SME. Assad, do you have an answer for that? This Committee Member Anderson.
Yeah, so Smee, I think if we so correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying we don't make any changes and we leave it as is. Was that the?
I think the question was, if we don't make any changes today, we let the board keep the one that they have in rulemaking, and then are there going to be populations that would not be able to be served with that one versus this one?
If we kept the one that we updated in the spring and don't have if we don't make the edits that I see right now in front of our screen, we wouldn't be able, the pharmacists wouldn't be able to vaccinate using the updated ACIP recommendation. So we would have to have some language on the, for example, what's new individuals, because before it was individuals over 65 could get the booster, and that was a 23-24 variation, things like that. If we want to keep that only, they wouldn't be able to vaccinate in the fall. Now, if we kept it to what's at least changed right now, and say that they're going to get the 24-25 COVID vaccine, this version would allow the pharmacists to vaccinate in the fall and at least be a patch, if you will, and then minus the formulation differences and products that may be discontinued, things like that. But at least that will hold them over, yes. So I would recommend we have broad language allowing the utilization of the fall vaccine. At the very
let's do
minimum.
this then. This committee member Gibler, I'd like to proceed with this version then.
Yeah, this is Committee Member Virgin. That was my recommendation as well, to proceed with this recommendation.
Committee Member Anderson, fabulous. Thank you. Would the committee like to see, it might be good then to just sort of scroll through this very slowly And if any of the committee members would like to sort of pause and ask questions about anything, please speak up. And then if we get to the bottom and we've all sort of agreed to what we see, then we can go ahead and make a motion to approve this.
Thank you. So staff member Melvin, so Smee or Assad, if you could just tell me when you would like me to stop scrolling, just give us some direction, that would be great.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I know when you were scrolling earlier, there was some edits made by, I believe, by Gary at the bottom, which was great because of the uncertainty of this, I only kind of like the ones you see right now in the red are the ones that I edited with the years. This is the bulk of the change. So if you keep scrolling down, some of these other changes, I believe, which rightfully so, because a lot of it's just more, technicality, if you will, with removing 23, 24, making it 24, 25. I think that was done by someone else, but looks like that's very pertinent and spot on. So if you keep going down, and we can keep the formula. I mean, the formulations are going to be something that, unfortunately, it could even be changed mid recommendation. So we can just keep them as is for now.
This is committee member Anderson. With all of the cap colors, would it be possible, since those might change, would it be possible to either remove the cap color or put a little note with it that's like refers to saying that cap colors are subject to change based on new formulations or availability?
Staff member Efremov, could I ask the SME perhaps of the intention of having the cap colors? I apologize, I can't remember because I understand it. Maybe we could just remove them if they're not needed at all, but yeah, is it helpful or is it going to cause confusion if they have changed and it still says that and they didn't see the caveat? Like maybe having less information is actually more helpful here.
Yeah, this is at least my opinion would be to remove them, just because of what we've all been discussing with regards to too much information and the need to change that constantly. Sorry if I didn't say committee member Anderson.
Need to be better at that too. Staff member Efremov, we're happy to remove them if that is the will of the committee, and would also just make sure from the SME there wasn't anything that we're missing, that there was, I apologize, I can't remember the intentionality behind it other than to be helpful, I think.
So this is SME Obeidi. I'm kind of torn on this because, again, the thing is, pharmacists are going to have multiple resources besides just the protocol. And so if the essence of the protocol is more for guidance, I would recommend less is more. But if for some reason, because I know with vaccines or any medication, when you have multiple variations of the same thing in multiple age ranges, it does make it more difficult when you're in a workflow and you're busy, and it's easy to be like, okay, well, blue is for this, red. So I get the intention behind the colors. However, that can come from multiple resources. And like we mentioned, that's something that I would look up in a package insert all the time. Or once you have it, I would make my own little, tables for our teams. So if the essence of this protocol is to keep it more high level, I would agree with removing it.
Staff member Moretti, and I agree with that assertion. Just in the retail environment, for example, really the colors are just to provide some extra degree of differentiation between formulations. So like you mentioned, you're not grabbing the wrong formulation for a 6 month through, or 3 to 4 year old versus 5 through 11, what have you. But those will be present on the package as well. And so I agree there may not be a need to have it cross-referenced in this document. That would provide more confusion than help.
Also, this is staff member Melvin. I just wanted you to know, you're not seeing me edit this in real time because I'm driving, but Gary or staff member Runyon and staff member Efremoff are editing the same version on their laptops. Just if you were wondering, we had to approach this a little differently this time since we didn't have Jennifer. So we are capturing everything that you're saying. Yeah. Okay, so do we have consensus, Chair Anderson, regarding the colors?
This is, yeah, committee member Anderson. I think so. Any other discussion on this point? Are the other committee members in agreement with removing the column for vaccine cap and label colors?
This is committee member Hammond. I agree we should remove the colors.
This is committee member Virgin. I also support removing the cap color line.
Committee member Wickenhagen, I also support removing the vaccine cap color.
Great. Would it also be possible, I'm seeing, this is committee member Anderson. I'm also seeing that cap color is mentioned up above a little bit more as well in some of the text. So would it be possible to make sure and go through the text as well to kind of remove cap colors?
Noted, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Assad, should we just continue to walk down to the end?
Yes, please.
Okay. And just let me know when you'd like me to stop.
Well, yeah, and so this part right here, I mean, if again going with the essence about all of our changes, this language would need to change to include not just people age 65 and older, because the new recommendations for 6 month and older for if we're going to use a 24-25 formula.
So we need to amend this box, is what you're saying? The content box. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know.
But we can't again give specifics because right now, like this box does have specifics, and there's not really, we don't have the CDC specifics yet. So this isn't wrong, but it's not exactly what CDC is going to want. Maybe, or maybe they'll just do a copy paste. But yeah, so this should say ages 6 and older should receive, and it's this one is more for like the one additional dose of any, but this is the recommendation right now is just to receive a dose, not necessarily one additional dose.
So is the proper language at the very top of this at the beginning? Do we have what we need? I'm just going to scroll back up real quick and we'll come back.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. That's perfect.
Oh,
Yes.
right
And that's literally that's exactly it. Yep.
This box at all, or do we need to duplicate this language in the box?
Oh, right. That's a good question. So do we need that box at all? Should we just have it here? Is it duplicative to have it down here?
The way that the document, and I think also there was an intention by the committee, I think, to kind of keep it consistent, if you will, across all vaccine protocols. And so there was the what's new portion, just to kind of give the high level overview, and then the deep dive would be duplicative. But again, I'm a fan of less is more. So if we can make this a leaner document.
We need this box to say what says
yes.
So the box will say individuals 6 months and older should receive the 2024 through 2025 COVID-19 vaccine, and it has Moderna, or sorry, Novak. I can't even read right now. And
yes,
Pfizer,
all
but
three.
no.
Yep, Pfizer, Moderna, and Novavax. Yep.
And that's it.
That's the essence of the recommendation. Yeah.
Okay.
This is committee member Anderson. Will you scroll back up just real quick to see what was just above? No, sorry, too far.
Oh, too far?
I meant
I thought you were
just above that box. I'm trying to figure out why that box was even there in the first place. I'm wondering if we could just delete the box, I guess.
So here it is.
Because wasn't that added last time because they were recommending that individuals over the age of 65 get an additional like booster, so they get a 2-dose shot series back then. And I don't think that's going to apply, at least not yet. I mean, maybe they will make that recommendation later, but I'm almost wondering if we shouldn't just delete that box altogether. Since it is at the top.
Staff member Runyon, that was my recollection as well, that there was an initial series which consisted of 2 doses of Moderna, for example, and then there was additional authorization for 65 plus. And because in that patient subpopulation, there is waning immunity over a period of time. So the additional dose they're referring to isn't part of the primary series. So it's referring to something different here than what we're referring to in authorizing that everyone should receive a dose of this new formulation up top. So I think we could strike that all together because it's referring to an additional dose of this. It would be referring to an additional dose of this formulation, but what we are really trying to authorize is just a dose of this formulation. There's no additional dose if you don't have a dose and to start with, and that's what we're authorizing, or would be.
And this is staff member Melvin. Chair Anderson, I went back and I looked at the mailing. Yes, this was added to the last version that's currently went through rulemaking, this box.
Okay, thank you. This is committee member Anderson. I recommend just deleting the box then. Are there any other thoughts from other committee members?
This is committee member Wickenhagen. I think less is more. I think that's been said. And I agree. So thank you.
Okay, so so for consensus for this group, typically we need 4 or more. So do we have 4 people that agree to that?
Yes, sorry, I didn't have an objection, so I wasn't going to speak up. But if you need us to verbally say something before we actually vote, yeah,
Okay.
Fun with this.
Thank you.
Yes,
And-
I agree as well. This is committee member Hammond.
And committee member Virgin, I also support that change.
Committee member Sellers, I support that change.
Committee member Myers, great.
Very good. All right, back to you, Smee Assad.
Yep.
Anything in this section that you guys would like to discuss?
No, and hopefully, I mean, and this again will probably change for the immunocompromised folks, but it may not because they've been getting regularly boosted.
Just keep going.
Yeah, there's more of, and that's the one thing with this protocol is like there's subcategory for adults, subcategory for the children 12 and older, subcategory for and for, like all ages, and so it becomes a bit redundant, but it's the essence of what they wanted in the past. And these are the products. I mean, we can keep them again in there right now, but these are the licensed vaccines, and so the presentation portion may be different a little bit. Age ranges are not going to change per se, but do we want to keep this in there for now, minus the cap colors?
Yeah, this committee member Gibler, I think we have this in all the protocols, so we're just gonna just keep it, be consistent until we want to remove them from everything. But I know it seems fine.
Let's see. And I'm just looking for yellow highlight. Just please tell me if anybody would like me
Yeah,
to
sure.
stop scrolling. To the end of this. We kind of touched on. I don't know if there needs to be more discussion on this.
Staff member Runyon, I guess one of the primary issues that I see with the verbiage that we have up top, and not having additional guidance from ACIP or CCFDA is at what point, and this question will come up, at what point when someone gets a new vaccine, would it be appropriate spacing for them to receive it relative to previous vaccination? If they, let's say, for example, received the 23-24 formulation a week before this came out and was available, I think that's a potential issue. And without any of that updated guidance, I think it would kind of solidify the need for what we discussed earlier about having some language in there that refers them to, in as much as we can, the most recent or updated guidance for the package insert or what have you, because that will come up, and it's not mentioned up top. It just says it's recommended that everyone get it, but there's no recommended spacing, of course, relative to the last dose that they may have received.
Yeah, this is me, but I completely 100% agree. And I know previously for like the booster was 4 months, but with the current guidance, that's something that we're waiting to see. And for the sake of this protocol, I want, like, do you guys think like just adding a simple line up at the very top of, following CDC's guidance on space and just calling it out at least, so that if they didn't think about it or something happened, at least it's called out.
As a committee member, Gibler, I think, can you clarify for me what so all the tables list spacing in the far right column. So what's the concern of not just leaving those in there, referring to that? What's the issue?
So a lot of times, like in pharmacy, patients come in and say, "Well, I just received this vaccine, 2 weeks ago. Can I get the quote unquote new one because it was on the news or something like that?" And then just kind of getting spacing between, let's say, this individual over 65 received the booster like in June or July. Would they still get the updated vaccine 2 months later?
So it says at least 8 weeks after the last dose in the current protocol that we have here, right?
In the current one, yeah.
So they'd have to wait 8 weeks. If I was a pharmacist, I'd be reading this protocol, and that's what I would say. But maybe it's clear to me, but maybe I'm simplifying it.
Staff member Runyon, yes, that's correct, but this guidance hasn't been updated for the 24-25 formulation. I didn't see any indication that there would be substantive changes to that effect, but we don't have that guidance to say that there isn't either.
Staff member Ackerman, I think one other point maybe for clarification, the two different, so the protocol and these are references. So this isn't necessarily, this is just help to facilitate. So I think my understanding, and Rachel can probably correct me if I'm wrong, I apologize. I'm trying my best to piece together what we can in real time to make this happen. References, we can go back as long as it's not a substantive change and we can update on the protocol. So once things are uploaded, long as there's no change to the actual protocol that would then need to go back to the committee and back to the board, we can make the reference link updates to make sure that there's up-to-date references.
Yes, Staff Member Melvin, I believe that is correct if it falls under that statutory minor correction, which again, this is not rule, it's protocol. So we treat it the same way, but yes, there are some things that we do have the opportunity to amend without going through the rulemaking process.
So in summary, Staff Member Mop, I think
So-
what Committee Member Gibler has stated would hopefully account for the patient safety component of what is being described at this time. And if there are changes, we will need to bring potentially that protocol back related to that information. And if there isn't changes, we could then provide the updated references. If the reference changes, but it's not changing the protocol per se, we could be able to make that in real time and not have to bring that back to
I
the
believe
committee.
so. And I think the board has that authority as well.
Okay.
This is Committee Member Anderson. So I'm kind of gathering that minor changes should be okay. And as long as we go ahead and approve this, we shouldn't have any too big of problems. Was there any desire to try and add some kind of language to say, have pharmacists looking for the updated information, or are we going to leave it like this?
Oh, I was so sorry. Staff Member Melville, was that a question for agency staff?
Oh, no, I think it's for the committee.
Oh, okay.
Any committee members have any big, strong desire after that discussion to try and add in any kind of language that says to, be checking package inserts that will be updated? I mean, I do think pharmacists do that. So, I mean, I would be personally fine with going ahead with the way that it is, and especially based on some of the discussions we've had today.
Yeah, I agree.
Committee Member Sellers, I agree.
Committee Member Hammond, I agree.
Committee Member Virgin, I agree.
Great, thank you, everybody. Are there any, so it looks like we are now down to the bottom of this Committee Member Anderson. It looks like we are to the bottom of the protocol now. Is there any discussion at all on any additional changes beyond what we've discussed? And if not, would it be possible for me to get somebody to go ahead and make a motion to approve this version that we've made the changes to?
Oh, I'm sorry, Lorinda, you need to read.
Oh,
I have.
you're right. Okay, I'm seeing it now.
Yeah, sorry. Thank
Is
you.
there a motion to move to recommend proposed amendments to the coronavirus 2019 vaccine statewide drug therapy management protocol version 8 of 2024 as revised today to the Oregon Board of Pharmacy for review?
Committee Member Gibler, so moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Committee Member Virgin.
Sellers, second. Sorry.
Which one? Sorry.
I think I buzzed in first. So,
Committee Member
second.
Virgin. Great. So Committee Member Anderson, I say yes. Committee Member Gibler.
Aye.
Committee Member Hammond.
Aye.
Committee Member Myers.
Aye.
Committee Member Sellers.
Aye.
Committee Member Virgin.
Aye.
And Committee Member Wickenhagen.
Aye.
Great. This motion passes. And we will now move on to review mailing A1, the proposed protocol amendments for inactivated influenza vaccines and recombinant influenza vaccines with subject matter expert Obaidi and Petrosky.
Thanks, I'll wait. Smee Petrosky, I'll weigh in on this one.
This is Staff Member Melvin. And is this the one you would like to share your screen, or this is the version we are going to provide?
Actually, I can share my screen. I made a few changes if people don't mind. Let's see if this works. Okay, that's RSV. Okay, so inactivated vaccines. So as usual, yearly, the ACIP and the FDA change the strains. So at the ACIP meeting, let me just skip down to here for what's new. They have basic language. ACIP reaffirmed the recommendations for routine annual influenza vaccination of all persons aged greater than 6 months who do not have contraindications. And then they came up with actually one recommendation for 2 vaccines, that the high dose inactivated and adjuvanted inactivated vaccines can be given to solid organ transplant recipients age 18 through 64 who are on immunosuppressive medication regimens without a preference. So they're adding these, instead of restricting it to just older patients, they're adding this in. And then kind of happily, we only need 3 valent vaccine this year. So based on what the World Health Organization came up with a number of months ago, the FDA has now recommended trivalent vaccines for the 24-25 season. And these are the strains. One of them is the same and 2 of them have changed. So that's that. Does anybody have any questions about the what's new? And what I did up here is change the title and made this, I can't remember what it's, I added inactivated because there's a live vaccine protocol as well. Changed all the years. And then I added for the Fluad, which is the high dose, and the Fluzone high dose, I put in 8 to 64 years with an asterisk, and the asterisk says what's up and what's new. It's an acceptable option for solid organ transplant recipients age 18 to 64 who are on immunosuppressive regimens. I couldn't need help from Gary after this. I couldn't make the changes to update these numbers to 2024 and 2024, 2025. I had trouble with this box here. So anything in this document that said 2023, 2024 has now been changed to 24, 25. Fortunately, nothing has changed with contraindications or warnings and precautions. Updated all of the references, and the version that you have there at the board, I'm sorry, at the committee, I had a note that 2 of the vaccines, the PIs had not been updated yet, and I just found them today. So I've updated this reference section. And that's it. So this is kind of vanilla changes, except for the solid organ transplant.
Excellent. Thank you, Nancy. If you could just forward that to us with the updated references, we would appreciate it. Thanks for your help on this one.
Sure.
Back to you, Chair Anderson, for committee discussion.
This is Committee Member Anderson. Thank you very much for your time. That looks like a lot of work. Are there any discussion points or anything that committee members would like to bring up as we had gone through that? All right, then. Well, is there a motion, this committee member Anderson, is there a motion to move to recommend proposed amendments to the influenza inactivated influenza vaccines and recombinant influenza vaccines statewide drug therapy management protocol version 8, 2024 as revised today to the Oregon Board of Pharmacy for review?
So moved, Committee Member Gibler.
Committee member Virgin seconds motion.
Great, thank you. Committee member Anderson, yes. Committee member Gibler?
Aye.
Committee Member Hammond,
Yes.
Committee Member Myers,
Aye.
Committee Member Sellers,
Yes.
Committee Member Virgin,
Aye.
and Committee Member Wickenhagen.
Aye.
Great, this motion passes. We will now review mailing A2, proposed protocol amendments for influenza live attenuated influenza vaccine with subject matter experts Obaidi and Petrosky.
Smee Petrosky will address this. If you can pull up the version that
You bet.
Gary Runyon worked on.
Yes. Okay. So this is the most recent version here.
Right.
Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah. And I apologize. I didn't have a copy of the Word document. The prescribing information for flu mist is not updated yet. So we can easily update this based on the other information that we have. But technically it's not available. The other thing that I wanted to show everybody, I guess scroll through.
Just tell me when you'd like me to stop.
Yeah. So everybody can see anything that was 2023 was changed to 2024. That was all changed.
I'm just going to keep going until I see stripes. Here you go. This is the references section.
That was changed, yeah. And then I don't think the comment showed up, but Gary had a question about administration because early on in the protocol, it says refer to the appendix, and then the appendix says NA. I did not originally work on this protocol. And again, sorry I didn't take a look at it before this. So that would have to be updated. And then
I'd be number 2. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
So I just searched. Sorry, go ahead.
So there's nothing there. And then interestingly, I was just doing a last minute search on these vaccines, and I found a press release from AstraZeneca that said they filed a BLA with the FDA on updating their package insert to include self-administration by the patient instructions. So I think that's really important to add to this. So again, I don't know that we can move on this one until we get the PI, but I would expect all the other PIs for the flu vaccines were dated 7/2024. So hopefully this flu mist one's going to come along very, very quickly. So in terms of what to do today, I'm not exactly sure, but I think it would help to have that PI in front of us and we can make some changes to this.
Staff Member Runyon, as we were doing with the other one, would it be possible for consideration to change the verbiage here to say see package insert for administration instructions? Because that would come with the shipments of the vaccine that are already out or be on their way.
Smee Petrosky, that's brilliant. let's change it to that. Yeah, and I think that would help. Yeah, and especially since the way this is written, it kind of gets lost there with a lowercase a for the appendix. So we could take the appendix out and just say C. C to prescribing information. And hopefully, again, that was a press release. I don't know how soon this BLA approval will be incorporated into the PI, but hopefully that's why there's a delay in the PI because they're getting that language all straightened out. But I think that will satisfy any sort of change that's in the PI.
Staff Member Efimov, can you read it back? What we're going to amend it to? I don't think I captured it properly.
So it's just, so we're in 2A.
2A.
Instead of so C appendix for administration instructions would be struck and it would just say C package insert. for administration instructions, and we will get rid of that appendix that is
Yes.
lingering somewhere.
I think it's 12.
Yeah.
It's at the very bottom.
Yeah. And again, they're mending this version in the background as I'm just showing this. So yeah, so you'll see this go away. Okay. Okay, back to you, Committee Chair Anderson.
All right, this committee member Anderson, any discussion points on this one or things to bring up from the committee members?
This is committee member Gibler. Can you scroll to the very top? But I just want to see the title. Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
All right, this committee member Anderson, if no other discussion points, is there a motion to move to recommend proposed amendments to the Influenza Live Attenuated Influenza Vaccine Statewide Drug Therapy Management Protocol version 8, 2024, as revised today to the Oregon Board of Pharmacy for review?
Committee member Gibler, so moved.
Thank you.
Committee
Is there
Member
a second?
Myers. Second.
Fabulous. All right. So committee member Anderson, yes. Committee member Gibler,
Aye.
committee member Hammond,
Yes.
committee member Myers,
Aye.
committee member Sellers,
Yes.
committee member Virgin,
Yes.
and committee member Wickenhagen.
Yes.
Great. This motion passes. All right, we will now move on to review mailing A3, proposed protocol amendments for respiratory syncytial virus with subject matter expert Petrosky.
Great. Give me just a moment. Nancy, is this is the version, our version that we would like to share? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So SME, Crystal Sharp worked on this one, and I'm standing in for her, so hopefully I'll be able to answer any questions. Okay, so significantly yet another RSV vaccines out there. This one's from Moderna. It's called mRESVIA. So that's been added. At the ACIP's June meeting, they changed the recommendations now. It used to be 60 and older to 75 and older should receive a single lifetime dose of the vaccine. And then they changed the 60 to 74. They did some economic modeling studies and found that it wasn't cost effective to give the vaccine to every single 60 to 74-year-old. So they changed it to those with increased risk of severe RSV. And we'll see in section 5 who that population is. And C basically says the same thing. The conditions are what you'll see. So what's important is the last sentence there that says a pharmacist's ability to identify additional healthcare conditions that may place an individual at higher risk for severe RSV has been removed and replaced with the requirement of an authorized prescription issued by a medical healthcare provider. So I think that'll take the heat off the pharmacists in having to try to do shared clinical decision making. So the ACIP tried to make that a little bit easier, I guess. And then D, you can see mRESVIA. It's basically the same dose as the others. Okay, now wait a second. So now that's saying 60 and older. Okay, so that's, I wonder if we should change that because that is the prescribing information, right? And this is where we get into the PI versus, let's scroll down. Yeah.
This is committee member Anderson. How about we just say that, you know, that
It's
there's another there's another vaccine that's been approved and just leave it at that.
Perfect. Yeah.
So strike out that last part of the sentence where it just says indicated for the prevention of RSV in adults. Just say,
Has been approved.
yeah, that, yeah.
Wait, no, the addition of mResvia. How about we just say mResvia? Wait a second. mResvia has been approved as a one dose. Wait, a one dose. Yeah, mResvia, a one dose point mil mRNA vaccine has been approved for the prevention of RSV. How about that? Yeah, that's perfect.
This committee member Anderson, let's leave in the addition piece because it's been added to this protocol. So just say
Okay.
the addition of mResvia and then the rest of it.
Sure.
Sorry. Bree's capturing this. I'm sorry. I can't drive.
You're totally fine.
So we're leaving the addition of. Okay.
This is committee member Gibler. In C, what are we saying about 60 to 74 that the prescriber needs to prescribe the RSV, or are pharmacists still able to refer to risk factors and identify those?
No, C is that it has to be an authorized prescription. So it says the pharmacist's ability to identify additional healthcare conditions has been removed and replaced with the requirement of an authorized prescription.
Because I'm just seeing in the vaccine schedule table that we have 60 and older. And
okay,
that doesn't.
All right. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. When we get down there, yeah, I'm sorry. This was not my protocol and I looked over it, but yeah, we will clarify that. So in the language under the protocol, so single lifetime dose to all adults 75 and older, and then B, single lifetime dose for 60 to 74 at increased risk as described in section 5. And then C is it can be given with all the other recommendations.
This is committee member Anderson. If, as committee member Gibler pointed out in the beginning, we're taking that ability away from pharmacists to make a determination if they can identify those at high risk. I think we should just be taking it out every single place.
I mean,
like
the whole protocol's written.
So it should just be 75, you're saying.
Right. And, you know, I'm not even sure if we need all that information about how to identify it, because unless we're going to allow pharmacists to identify those risk factors, I don't know. I guess is there a discussion point about that? Do we feel like pharmacists could make that determination? Would you be willing to go down to the table that was referenced about
so 5
the risk factors?
Yeah, this is a really good point.
I'm sorry, you need the table right here. This
no, number 5.
Section 5.
Oh, sorry.
Section 5, yeah.
Yeah, so this so that's all up to you. In the spirit of what Assad was saying, you know, less is better. So if you did want to take all that out, I think it's helpful for context to tell the pharmacists that this, you know, you're only giving it to 75 and older because, you know, the recommendations have changed for only those at risk. You know, if you don't want to give them the ability, but if you do, here it all is.
I mean, like B says that all they need to do is present a risk factor to the pharmacist and they can administer RSV. But if they have a prescription for RSV, which is all that we're, I guess, allowing now, then they don't need to also present a risk factor. They've got the prescription.
Correct. So it could be 60.
Yeah, this is committee member Anderson. Can we have a discussion about that then at the beginning? Do we as a committee want to remove that from pharmacists? When I'm looking at this list of chronic underlying medical conditions, it and honestly is something you could find out from patients. They are able to identify their own medical conditions. Of course, a lot of the other protocols where we're doing that, we include like a questionnaire where the patient has to fill that out to say that they have these things. And so I don't know that I want to go down that rabbit hole. But I also am kind of bummed, especially because like diabetes, for instance, is super common. And I think that it would be a disservice to not allow pharmacists to identify that and give them the vaccine.
Yeah, Smee Petrosky, the diabetes is end organ damage, but that can get
Oh,
a
but
little
yeah, I guess I'm feeling like anybody who's 60, a lot of them do at
right.
that point. But yeah.
This staff member Runyon just I want to bring a point up. So it seems like we're saying two things at the very top under section C. I think we're saying from 60 to 74, at least as I understand it, um, we're giving a list of the CDC's most recent criteria. So the pharmacist doesn't have to determine or make a decision as to what additional conditions would apply. So the way I read that, if you're 60 to 74 and you meet one of those conditions, you can give it because those have been determined and agreed upon to confer an additional risk. But any conditions outside of that, let's say the patient came in and said, hey, I have this really rare genetic disease and it puts me at an increased risk of upper respiratory tract infections. In that case, it would require clinical decision making or additional research, or would entertain something that's not present on that list. So yeah, that would require a prescription because it's not on the list of accepted criteria that would confer that. That's how I understand it anyway.
This is, yeah, Committee Member Anderson. Thank you so much for that clarification because I was reading that as pharmacists not being able to do that. But I see what you're saying.
So this is committee member, we need to rewrite it then. If there's,
Yeah,
we're gonna get all
that
sorts of
just
questions.
I agree. I think that we just strike that whole thing about the pharmacist's ability to identify additional risk factors. Can we just remove that? Because I feel like that's the confusing part. And pharmacists aren't going to stray from that list. You know, it says conditions placing them at risk are found, you know, in section 5. And, you know, if they meet one of those criteria, the pharmacist can give it. And I don't think anybody's going to stray from that list. So
Agree.
Is there, Committee Member Virgin, is there an opportunity to include that and then clarify meeting criteria or a physician's order to maximize the number of individuals that would qualify if their diagnosis is not on the list?
oh, yeah, I like that, Committee Member Anderson. Maybe instead of just striking all that out, or maybe we just add verbiage that says that conditions that place them at increased risk need to be followed.
Staff member F. Just to remember too that pharmacists, if they have a prescription, they don't need this protocol, right? They're going to fill it under like this is just a different pathway for pharmacists to prescribe. If they get a prescription, they would still do the normal prescription pathway. But maybe it's a good reminder to seek out a prescription or collaborate with a provider or patient to follow up with provider related to not being able. I could see it both ways.
And that would be good, this committee member Gibler, if you just want to say, if a risk factor, additional risk factor is not identified, the patient will need a prescription for a RSV. If that's what, if that makes it more clear.
Yes, say it one more time.
Committee Member Gibler, could you restate that one more time so we can capture it?
If a risk factor is not identified by the pharmacist, the patient will need a prescription from their primary care provider or from a prescriber. or something like that. If
Okay.
that might make it a little bit more clear. So, because we certainly don't want pharmacists refusing to administer RSV2, even if they have a prescription. So this just makes it very clear.
Staff member Efremov has captured that. Do we have consensus from the committee on that proposed change? And then
This is committee member Virgin. Could I see that written out before approval?
So Staff Member Efremov, I don't think it's live time ready unless you guys want to spend the time massaging it. I just took notes on if an additional risk factor outside what is permitted, a pharmacist is required to get a prescription from a patient's provider.
Readback's acceptable. Thank you.
This is committee member Anderson. I agree with that change.
Committee member Sellers, I agree with that change.
Looks like you're wanting one more. Committee member Wickenhagen also agrees.
very good. Right. If we get to the end, I don't remember where we left off. I know we're running over. Sorry.
Smee Petrosky, yeah, let's go back up a little bit. Little bit more. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so we've got the mRESVIA in the vaccine schedule. Again, same dose as the others. And so we're going to keep it at 60 because that still is the acceptable range. Scroll down. mRESVIA is there. Recommendations for use. So we're going to keep it. Let's see if we have to massage B. So add anything to that? Or is that good?
Committee member
That's
Virgin,
good.
that language is very clear.
Okay. Okay.
Keep going here.
And there are all the conditions. And
I was going to say, sorry, this committee member Anderson, it looks like the footnote with the asterisk is crossed out. Could we cross out the asterisk above then? Where it says a list of potentially immune compromised available at this place. Yeah, I think it's on the third one down, third bullet in the chronic underlying medical conditions. Or are we able to update that reference? Do we know if there's a better reference?
Smee Petrosky, can I see?
This one right here. Great.
Go up to so she can see the actual language.
Yeah, let me make it large. So we're talking about the asterisk under the table here, but it's applying up here to the third bullet right there. Correct? Okay.
Huh, I am not sure. Smee Petrosky, I'm not sure why Crystal crossed that out. We can.
The link, and this and the link. So we were going to check the hyperlink to see if it's still live. We're not sure why.
Smee Petrosky, the CDC just did a big overhaul of their website, and there are so many links that are dead right now. And the advanced age, Yeah, they must have taken that out. I guess because it's 75, I guess that it's redundant, the advanced stage. Yeah, so that link needs to be checked. And then that third bullet is now taking care of, well, it's just addressing respiratory disease, but with an authorized prescription. And they did add the retirement community, the footnote for the residents in a nursing home. They did add, they had a discussion about retirement communities and independent communities, and they're not considered long-term care.
I think it's a broken link is what we
It's a
believe.
broken link. Yeah, so, and I have found through my regular job that sometimes the link, they haven't created a new link, which is really frustrating because the information usually was good in the previous link. Okay. So continuing, the RSV is not an annual vaccine, so there's just clarification here. Okay, all the information about mRESVIA. And then information about Abrysvo for pregnancy. They're very, very specific with the language. And then Arexvy. So the ACIP there's not enough information for the manufacturer the manufacturer wanted to get this lower age population so they could vaccinate more people. But the ACIP did not vote on that. There's the mRESVIA data. More on mRESVIA. And then the references were all updated.
All right, nicely done. I'll scroll back to the top and then Committee Chair Anderson, if you want to open it up for discussion on anything else.
Yeah, sure. This is Committee Member Anderson. Any other discussion points on this protocol? Okay, then, is there a motion to move to recommend proposed amendments to the respiratory syncytial virus statewide drug therapy management protocol, version 8 of 2024, as revised today to the Oregon Board of Pharmacy for review?
Committee Member Myers, so moved.
Committee Member Gibler, second.
Thank you. So Committee Member Anderson, yes. Committee Member Gibler?
Aye.
Committee Member Hammond?
Yes.
Committee Member Myers?
Aye.
Committee Member Sellers?
Yes.
Committee Member Virgin?
Yes.
And Committee Member Wickenhagen?
Yes.
Great, this motion passes. All right. It looks like I believe we've already kind of talked about the next meeting, which is scheduled for November 20th of 2024. So I would like to go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Is there a motion to move to adjourn the meeting at 10:45 a.m.?
Committee Member Gibler, so moved.
Committee Member Myers, second.
Great. Committee Member Anderson, yes. Committee Member Gibler?
Aye.
Committee Member Hammond?
Yes.
Committee Member Myers?
Aye.
Committee Member Sellers?
Yes.
Committee Member Burgin,
Yes.
and Committee Member Wickenhagen.
Yes.
Great. This motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.